People of Ogoni ethnic nationality in River State have insisted that the federal government should create a state for them as part of conditions for resumptions of oil exploration in the area. This came weeks after the Congress of Ogoni people reaffirmed commitment to peaceful dialogue and constructive engagement with the government and other stakeholders ahead of the planned resumption of oil exploration. The Congress, led by Professor Don Barry Dam, Chairman, Archbishop Ignatius Katie, Co-Chairman Tom Orage, Secretary, had stated that the reason for the peaceful dialogue is to ensure that the Ogoni people's aspirations for development, environmental justice, and economic empowerment are realized. However, the Dialogue Committee directed the four local government areas in the Ogoni land, which are LMA, Gokana, Kana, and Tai, should organize a separate town hall meeting and return with their various resolutions and demands for the onward dialogue with the presidency. Meanwhile, at the town hall meeting organized by the 20 committees in Gokana LGA on Sunday, they insisted that the government should create Ogoni State with the capital in Bori town. Before now, Mr. Mufasa, there was a time that the House of Representatives, or if I'm not mistaken, Senate, either of them, had plans to create other states, about 31 extra states, to make it 67? Yes. 67 about there. Yes, yes, and then I think it's on the way, but there were complications going on from the House of Representatives that they do not feel that's a necessity at the moment. And so I think the bill is still on hold at the moment. But we recall that the federal government has also insisted to resume oil exploration in Ogoni land. This coming from them at the moment that before oil exploration should resume in the state, in Ogoni LGA, that the government should create their own state, which is Bori State. Do you think that there's a possibility that can happen, considering the fact that the bill to pass 31 extra states is still pending in the House of Representatives?
Thank you very much. It's possible. They popularly say that nothing is impossible if you put your minds to it. But let us look at the workability, because I'm aware that the last time the stakeholders from Ogoni, visited the president, these issues were, part of the things they discussed. And what was in the front burner was the fact that the government, the Nigerian state, is interested in, beginning or commencing oil exploration in Ogoni land. Okay, so now I'm sure they had all the opportunities to have presented these issues before the president, although the president left the conversation open when he told them that they should go home, sit down, and discuss amongst themselves what they truly wanted. And this is just should I call it a section of the interest groups in Ogoni land, because from the news, from the information gathered, it was just stakeholders from Kukana local government. And now in Ogoni they have about 4 local governments. So they now have to see to convince other stakeholders to adopt this resolution. Because if you are saying that unless a state is created, the government cannot commence oil exploration in Ogoni land, for me, I would think I'll consider that a very tall order, because the processes of creating a state is not a walk in the park. It's not a tea party. It has to go through the rigors of, you saw already, even the National Assembly, they've not even commenced thorough deliberation on the matter. So for me, perhaps, maybe the Ogoni people are not sincerely interested for oil exploration to commence soonest. Mind you, just recently the federal government has approved, the setting up of an environmental university in Ogoni land.
Yes.
All these are part of, the ploy, if I may use that word, the ploy to see how they can patronize and appeal to the conscience of the Ogoni people. But one thing I would have expected the Ogoni people to hamper on is the fact that there is a report which is called the UNEP report. And in that report, it stipulates and gave a comprehensive guideline and directive on how and why the land should be cleaned up. Has anything been done to that effect? If yes, what is the level of progress they have made in the cleanup of Ogoni land? Because if that has not been achieved to a certain level, then they will keep moving around in circles. And I've come to also realize that in Ogoni land alone, they have several interest groups, what I would call proliferation of interest groups. They have the Kagote, they have the Conscience of Ogoni, they have Kensarua Associates, they have Ogoni's People Assembly, they have a whole lot of them. And it's hardly you see them, singing the same songs. Every one of these groups have their own agenda that they are projecting. And if they could not achieve that unity of purpose, I'm sure much will not be achieved in terms of development, because what is paramount, or what should be paramount, is how development can come into the communities that make up the 4 Ogoni local government.
Okay.
So for me, it's not as if, like rightly asked, it's not as if they cannot achieve that, state, whether they want to call it Bori State or Ogoni State, whatever name they want to call it. But it's something that it will take a lot of time to do so. And if you are placing it side by side with that, interest, with the determination of the government to commence oil exploration in Ogoni land, then, much will not be achieved. Because if you want to consider the time of and the rigors of state creation and all of that, it's like, a very, what they call a walk in the park.
Thank you so much, Ndamo Fasa. I'd like to ask, you talked about the rigorous stages of creating the states, and the issue that is still in the House of Assembly, because this is not the only state that is supposed to be created, additional states. So it's not just about the Ogoni people as it stands. So it's something that has to go through processes. Considering the fact that the federal government is more like in a haste to continue the oil exploration in Ogoni land, and then Ogoni Indigenes have also come out to bring their own demands before the oil exploration can resume, in their land. If we recall, the cleanup Ogoni, the agitation that's been going on for a long time, it's yet to be completed. It's something that they have been agitating for also for a very long time. Bayelsa has also joined. So do you think there's a kind of like, you said that there's a ploy from the environmental technology university that wants to be, brought up? Do you think that's a ploy, an intentional act from the federal government to, do all of this, first off? And then secondly, considering, like I said, the cleanup that has not resumed yet, and then the Ogoni Indigenes are asking for creation of the states that we know will take long processes before it's achieved. Do you think the federal government would listen to any of this before they resume oil exploration in this land, or they would just go ahead and do their bids and say we have done something for you can hold on to? Because if we check, some of them are actually happy over it. That, yeah, thank you, you have decided to open up an environmental university where our children will study, maybe help us to, know how to go about the cleanup that you're yet to implement in the states and in the local government?
The cleanup has actually started. I think because the UNEP report has given a guideline, and there are stages. Okay, there are stages that it has to follow.
Okay.
Now, I'm aware that there is a body called IPREP, and that IPREP is saddled with the responsibility to run the processes through. But what I'm saying here today is the slow pace at which they are going about it. Okay, that is on one side. Now, talking about even the government trying to see how they can patronize the people, because I'm aware that for more than 2 decades, the Ogoni people have not allowed any form of exploration in Ogoni lands. And you agree with me that the Nigerian state has been struggling to meet up with the OPEC benchmark in terms of oil production. Of course, they will say vandalism and oil theft and all of that. But assuming the Ogoni people have allowed oil exploration to take place in the Ogoni land, I'm sure it will be able to meet up with the demands globally. But looking at the primary welfare and concern of the people, because that is a primary responsibility of government. The government also...
Are you aware of the situation that happened during the first exploration in Ogoni land?
The first one?
In the last situation that happened that made them not to agree for anyone at the moment.
No, I'm aware that for more than a decade, since the death of Ken Saro-Wiwa, oil exploration has not, been carried out in Ogoni lands. They have rejected it, and they are saying, not today, not yesterday, for a very long time, that before any of such activity will be allowed in Ogoni land, they have to clean up the land. That was what gave rise to the UNEP report. And the report has been approved by the government. And
that's why I asked if you're aware of the last scenario that happened during the last exploration.
Which of the scenario?
The fact that there were most of the resources were contaminated, their water and all of that.
That is.
So are you saying that this oil exploration is a good one? They should allow it.
No, it's not as if in other communities that you have the IOCs and the rest.
So the fact that the government is yet to listen. So you said the cleanup has they've approved. But it has not. They have not resumed.
They've started. That's why I say it's in stages, and the timeline is almost more than 10-15 years.
Isn't it possible that for that the timeline is a long period?
Yes, it's a long.
While the cleanup is going on, the oil exploration should also go on.
Now, that was why I said in my initial deposition that if the processes, if they are, fast about it, I'm sure they would have reached a significant level by now.
Okay.
They can be doing the cleanup while, they begin to set up whatever apparatus that they need in terms of the IOCs and government to begin oil exploration. In the world all over, where you have this kind of activities, oil exploration activities, there are bound to be some little, pollution in terms of the water bodies and the air.
Okay.
But as a responsible government, there must also be in place contingency plans to cater for some of these things that amount to the hazardous effects of the exploration activities. So if the government really wants to commence oil exploration or resume, because commence is not even the right word, because resume oil exploration, they've had that activity before, not until it was stopped. So if the government want to resume oil exploration in Ogoni land, I would have expected the people and the government, including the IPREP that is currently running the cleanup, to sit down and discuss how far they've gone so far in the cleanup process. It is a process, because part of the process is you have to clear certain place, provide water, build schools. These are part of what is in the report. You must build schools, build healthcare, provide water for the people. Then you begin to clean up, removing those, toxic elements, benzene and some of those chemicals that has polluted the water bodies and all of that. It's devastating. When you go to Ogoni land, there are people who are predominantly fishermen, but because of the effect of the way the environment has been polluted, that has become a complete far cry. So they shouldn't, for me, clamoring for state creation, whereas there are primary issues that they need to, properly looked at and present it before the government. Already there's a move to create state, and the government cannot say because of Ogoni we'll just create a Ogoni state alone. So what now happened to the rest, areas, geopolitical zones that they've marked, states to be created from, even though we know that, these issues are still, generating a lot of controversies, both in the National Assembly and in the poll of public opinion. But there are issues that should be considered before this. For me, these are what they should look into. They should come together, look at the environment, look at the effect, look at how far UNEP report has been executed, and see how they can, expedite action so that the people can have a decent living as Nigerians.
Thank you so much in that.